Hey, what's going on? What's going on, y'all? What is going on, y'all? Wishing y'all a happy Tuesday. You get a chance, make sure you like the live, share it if you get an opportunity to share the live. Welcome to Catherine. Welcome, Catherine. Welcome to Victoria. And thank you, Karen. Thank you very much, Karen, for your gift. Shout out to you. If you receive one of Karen's gifts, send her some love. I put a question out in the chat about your favorite church spiritual. See, I was hoping to get some church spirituals to get us started because that's how the interview ended. I ended up talking to Foreign, who we've had on before, but I wanted to talk about the Black Diaspora wars. So I circled the block and bringing Foreign back. So I have quite a number of things, quite a number of topics to cycle through. In the meantime, I just wanted to see how connected I still was to the old church. Wade in the water. Wade in the water, children. Wade in the water. The roof is on fire. We don't need no water. We'll need to finish that. That's good. I'm 1 for 1. Eugene, I don't own a Dallas Cowboys jersey. So I don't own a Cowboys jersey, and I definitely won't be purchasing a Cowboys jersey. Now, that being said, somebody did send me an email. God's gonna trouble the water. Okay, thank y'all for that. Thank you. Thank y'all for that. Somebody sent me an email asking if they could send me their jersey because they were like a minor league. They were playing in a minor league, and they asked me if they could send me their jersey. I'll definitely take gifts. If you want to send me a Cowboys jersey, you can send me a Cowboys jersey. Now, I can't make any promises on how that Cowboys jersey is going to be used. So careful. Careful. Well, Nikki, to be honest, I'm just getting over my cold, so you got to cut me some slack. Normally, I like to be, normally I'd be on point with the singing, but, Aracelis, I appreciate that. Thank you very much, Aracelis. Much appreciated. You said that's a different kind of singing. The roof is on fire. I have a couple 49ers jerseys. I have Joe Montana and Ronnie Lott. I like the 49ers when I was growing up because I hated Cowboys so much. So I adopted the 49ers. If we couldn't beat them, then I would adopt the 49ers to beat them. So that's why even Steve Young's probably my favorite 49er and Roger Craig, but I went with the classics, Ronnie Lott and Joe Montana. I try and represent. Yes, agreed. Ray, shout out to the Mod Squad. Shout out to all y'all. Much appreciated. All the service that you're putting in. Thank you very much for that. Thank you, TP. I appreciate that. Thank you. If you receive one of TP's gifts, send TP some love. Now, I did want to send some love out to, obviously, the Mod Squad. I see Chernobyl, Deshauna, Miss Ray, and all you guys. I apologize if there's anybody I forgot. Thank you guys for all your work. I also want to send some love out to Regina for her research with the videos. And, I mentioned this before with Regina, but now that this is being football season once again, she's working under duress, and she has showed up every day with a positive attitude, making sure that I had everything that I needed, despite watching the atrocity that she saw on Sunday. And it's just an unbelievable spirit. it's an unbelievable spirit that she has to show up to work every day after watching 60 minutes of Browns football. I agree, Ree. I agree. She just does a fantastic job, and I hope that one day the work that she does can deliver her from the penance that she is paying right now, having to watch Browns. But I can't say Ohio deserves better. Quite frankly, I can't say that Ohio deserves better. I am getting a little bit better now. You can still probably hear it a little bit in my videos that like I'm not all together. I don't got my sexy register back. I don't got my sexy register yet. You know what I mean? I still be up high, but I work through it. I definitely work through it and trying to make sure you guys get this content. If you guys recall, as I'm sure you probably do, from the ending that I put together last week, I'm trying a different, content strategy as opposed to the metronome of the single video a day. I'm trying to be a little bit more organic in how I put my content out. See a topic and you want to talk about it, just make that video, and it ends up being as long as it ends up being. So I can't say I've released the reins completely because I think I put out a 22-minute. I think one of the videos was 22 minutes. That one was pretty short. But other than that, they've all been like 25 plus. But I'm trying to get away from like the 38s and the 39s. So that's what we're doing. I'm hopefully, if my editing goes according to plan, tomorrow will be another BOGO day, hopefully. But that remains to be seen. But just be forewarned about that. Another channel thing, which is my ending today, is thank you, Eugene. I appreciate the well wishes. I missed it. You guys' content's coming fast and furious. I appreciate the well wishes. Thank you very much. My ending today is that I feel like one of the things that I could do better on the channel is just reacting to news, like immediate reaction to news. And one of the issues that I have with that is when I release content during the day, a lot of times I'm dodging, I'm playing double dutch. I'm dodging like Trump speaking or somebody testifying or some kind of news breaking. And of course, flooding the zone is literally their MO with this administration. So that's by design to make it as difficult as possible for me to do that. So in an effort to try and check both boxes, being more accessible and reacting to live news, but also not always like having my videos and just trying to drop them into the timeline, and hope it don't blast back like fish grease. I think I'm going to stake out this time of night. I think I'm going to stake out this time of night as like my primary video release time. So I've gone through different phases of the channel. I've done that before and it worked fine. But I've gone through phases at 4, I've gone through phases at 12, 1. I've been releasing videos early a lot, lately, like 10, 11. I think I'm going to stake out this time, not 8:15, but like 7, right? I think I'm going to stake out like 7. I think that's just going to be like my standard time. Not saying everything is going to be out at that time, but I'm going to at least try and put like half the videos out at that time. By the way, I see a lot of you guys putting in for Reese and Tabitha. We love Tabitha on the channel. Shout out to her. She has an open invitation. I think somebody in her chat tried to recommended that she come on and she mentioned that she has some anxiety, which I like totally understand. So I'm not trying to put pressure on her in that regard, but yes, it would be dope, and one day it may go down. But just a FYI, I'm planning to stake out like that 7 window, basically 4 to 7. 4 to 7, that's gonna be my time. That's gonna be my time. Which raises the question: what the hell do you do with all these BOGO days? What the hell do you do with all these 2 video days? We work and do that. You know what I mean? We work. It's a work in progress. It's a work in. God ain't through with me yet. He ain't through with me yet. So we ain't figured that out. We ain't figured that out. I mean, you could maybe like do like a 4 and 7 or something like that, but I don't know. I don't know. Shout out. Yeah, I do enjoy. I see a lot of you guys suggesting Amazing Lucas. I thoroughly enjoy Amazing Lucas's work. Would love to get him on as well. When it comes to content release, ask Miss Ray, man. I'm a regular Mitch McConnell. I mean, I'm a regular Newt Gingrich, okay? When it comes to content release, I am the most conservative. I am the most conservative when it comes. I am so conservative when it comes to content release. But I'm trying to work against that by virtue of making more videos and making shorter videos, because if you keep stacking up your content, that doesn't do anybody any good. That kind of forces you to release videos. Here's a primary example. I saw what you said, Nikki. So I'm planning on tomorrow to be a BOGO day. And I plan on a lot of days to be BOGO days. And they don't be, because your boy gets scared and don't put out the second video. That's happened more times than I've done BOGO. I'm telling you that right now. It's happened more times than I've done BOGO. But I just recorded 2 more, so they need to go out. That's why I'm kind of forcing my own hand. I'm kind of forcing my own hand. And yes, you got that right, Robert. The news comes at you fast and furious, and it forces you to crank that content out. All right. Let me holler at what I want to holler about before we get on. One thing that I haven't seen fit to address that this just occurred to me because I saw that Rand Paul reacted to JD Vance talking about how using the military to attack citizens that attack people who poison your citizens is the best use of the military. And it very much reminds me of one of the things we talked about with the whole border thing about America having borders. America needs to have strong borders, but we don't respect anybody else's borders. America needs to have strong borders, but nobody else. But nobody else, apparently. So we don't so much believe in strong borders, just ours. And everybody else is supposed to ride with that. The rest of the world is supposed to co-sign. We need strong borders to keep y'all out, but we are just willing to go willy-nilly into other people's territory and land. And that's before you get to the point of the due process, which Rand Paul brought up in his opposition to what JD Vance said. Well, if that's how you feel about these citizens in another country, just because you decided, well, then it would be perfectly acceptable for, pick a country, Djibouti, Belgium, Thailand, don't matter. Pick a country. It would be perfectly acceptable for another country to just up and decide, Just up and decide, hey, those citizens are poisoning our citizens. We can attack them because it is the best use of our military. That would be okay? Apparently, that would be okay because other countries just get to up and decide who gets the death penalty because you made up your mind that they're poisoning your citizens, whatever the hell that means. I come back around to this point so often that it's maddening how often I come back around to this point, how low the bar is for what they are expecting their supporters to swallow. What has happened in this country where literally nobody asked the question of what if it were me or putting the shoe on the other foot? I don't understand that. I don't understand people. I really don't. When did that stop being a thing that people do just instinctually? When? I'm baffled by that. I probably won't do a whole video on that, but I did need to. Absolutely entitled, Robert. I just wanted to get that out. As I look and I see, I got like the little 4-box where it splits the screen into 4 channels with the news channels on. It's got Fox News, MSNBC, CNN, and BBC on. I rarely use this because I cannot even stand Fox News to even be on the 4-box. But as I see them saying the Coast Guard destroys another Coke boat, and then of course they would definitely frame that way. I noticed that yesterday, in an effort to see when I was going to post the video that I posted yesterday, I put this on just to see what was going on. And I happened to keep it on, which I rarely do. Because as I just told you, I can't even stand Fox News to be in the 4-box. I happened to keep it on. It stayed on all day. Now, here's a question. Do you have any idea what Fox News had on yesterday? All day. You don't have any idea what they had on all day. You had the Epstein letter that was going on yesterday. You had the Coke boat. You had the Georgia raid that was going on yesterday. You had the farmers in Middle America and them asking for help. Do you have any idea what they had on all day yesterday? The NFL obviously had just come back. It wasn't Biden, CD Don, but that's a good guess. Ree's room, they weren't going anywhere near that. I don't even think they have said the word Epstein since we came back off of congressional break. I don't even think they've said the word Epstein. I'm just curious. You know what they had on all day? Taylor Swift. That would be it. That's I can't put that past them. I definitely can't put that. VMAs. That's funny. VMA. That's a good guess. That is a really good guess. Trump's new golf record. That's pretty good. The dirty pictures. I'm scared to see what that is, Nicole. The dirty pictures. I'm happy that you're here, April. Welcome. All day. All day. All day. All day. They went from the 3 seconds, 4 seconds of video to the wall of mugshots to somebody talking about it to the 3-4 seconds of video to the wall of mugshots to somebody talking about it for hours. And it occurred to me, do you know, I don't really feel like I do the Black MAGAs justice. The fact that they actually have black faces on that channel that sit there and watch their propaganda machine work day in and day out. But TP, it was Charlotte. That's why I had it up on the screen and pointed. It was Charlotte. They were talking about Charlotte. The fact that they actually have black faces that sit there day in and day out and watch their propaganda machine work. For you to come out of that, and feel like we are the problem, the level of trauma that must have been inflicted upon them. I was affected just by having it in the background for one day. One day, I had it in the background, and I was so antagonized. Can you imagine having to sit around that all day? I don't really think I do the Black MAGAs nearly as bad as they deserve. That's where I'm coming out. I don't do them nearly as bad as they deserve. And while we're on the topic, I did see that Fox News just settled their whole succession fight, and that the self-described most conservative and most extreme of Rupert Murdoch's kids is going to take over Fox News because that's the one that he felt philosophy most aligned with his. So let's just keep that in mind. The mind behind the media outlet that is blasted as being, the right-wing state-run media, the man behind that will be the most extreme. Because they're framed as being mainstream. This is the most extreme. That's the mind behind the propaganda that we're getting on Fox News. Don't let that go unmentioned. Never let that go unmentioned. Okay. What else we got going on that I want to get to? I do have, by the way, there's a reason why Michael Jackson is on the thumbnail for this video, because, I'm a Michael Jackson fan, but I'm not like a stan like that. Like, I'm not crazy. Like, my boy Brandon is a crazy Michael Jackson fan. And just out of curiosity, because we have the ability now with our phones to just listen to stuff, just try stuff. And he had this album called Forever Michael from when he was a teenager. And I am one of those people that say, Michael Jackson, you realize Michael Jackson done had like 3 Hall of Fame careers? Michael Jackson, if Michael Jackson never made another record after 1975, he would be a Hall of Famer just by virtue of his work with the Jackson 5. If he never made another album after Thriller, he would be a Hall of Famer just from Off the Wall and Thriller. He would be a Hall of Famer. Then with Bad and Dangerous and everything that followed, he would have been a Hall of Fame. If they would have picked Michael Jackson up at a bus station in his early 30s or late 20s, and he made Bad and Dangerous, he would have been a Hall of Famer. This man done had 3 Hall of Fame careers. So I say, okay, here's a Michael Jackson album from like the 70s I've never heard before. Let me just put it on. Why ain't nobody tell me about Forever Michael? Ain't nobody told me. And we are supposed to be a sharing, caring, and loving family. I appreciate how many things that you guys have given me. Ain't nobody tell me nothing about Cinderella. Cinderella, stay a while. Ain't nobody tell me about Cinderella, stay a while. Yeah, ain't nobody tell me about take me back. Take me back where I belong. With you, baby. nobody tell me about Take Me Back. We've Got Forever. Ain't nobody tell me nothing. We Almost There. Ain't nobody tell me nothing. You realize what a bad boy you gotta be to have an album that hard, and we ain't never heard it. Ain't nobody heard it. Is that good? It just gets drowned out by all the rest of the stuff that he made. It's like The Lady in My Life. It's like The Lady in My Life. It's like The Lady in My Life. If you never heard, well, okay, wait a minute. Benita, not fair, because I've been sick. I've been sick, Benita. You can cut me some slack because I've been sick. If you never heard a Michael Jackson song in your life, and somebody played The Lady in My Life for you, you would say that's the greatest song I ever heard. You would. You would. If somebody played, no. Miss Ray, when I gave you my 5 favorite songs of all time, I think it was Fire and Desire, Bittersweet Symphony, Landslide, my favorite song of all time. Other than Landslide, I don't play about Landslide at all. I fight somebody over Landslide. I don't play about Landslide. Because I heard it. I was in a difficult time in my life when I heard Landslide for the first time, and it really just spoke to my soul. Other than Landslide, if you had never heard Michael Jackson song in your life, and somebody played The Lady in My Life, you would say that was the greatest song I've ever heard in my life. You would. You would. Ain't no song better than The Lady in My Life, other than Landslide. Ain't no song better than The Lady in My Life that's not by Michael Jackson. We just don't act like it's like that because he made so many bangers. That's why. That's why. You know what? Mind chess. Go listen and report back. You go listen and report back. Okay? That's why. So I just had to make sense of why Michael Jackson was on the thumbnail. I think I tried to put some Pan-African figures on the thumbnail. I know I got Patrice Lumumba on there. I had to put Bob on there and Nelson Mandela on there. and then representing Black Americans. It's Michael Jackson. I don't know why that happened. I mean, I put Dr. Umar on there because he's always talking about being the Prince of Pan-Africanism. And honestly, Marion Barry was already on the thumb because I was changing a thumb that he was on. And I just didn't see fit to take him off. So Dr. Umar. We got Patrice Lumumba, Bob Marley, and Nelson Mandela on one side, and then we got Michael Jackson, Dr. Umar, and Marion Barry representing Black Americans. We up, baby. We up. Okay. In any event, absolutely agree, Nicole. Absolutely agree. Okay. Without further ado, we had foreign man in a foreign land, the guy behind Foreign Fridays. He came on a couple months ago. We had a fantastic conversation. I really wanted to discuss the Black Diaspora Wars with him. He needed to record early in the day, so we ran it for our members. So that's why you'll see some people say, Marquis said that thumbnail's all over the place. It is. Guilty. He needed to record earlier in the day. So we did that. You'll see some people there because we had it live for the members when we ran it earlier. But I will be in the chat. So I want to play this for you guys. I will be in the chat, and then I'll come back on the back end. So hopefully you guys enjoy. Oh, wait, I got some comments to get through. It's hard to believe, but I'm getting closer to a year. It's been fast for me. Glad I made this trip with you all. Thank you, TP. 11 months. That's right. We coming back. Hey, we coming around to a year of membership. We got to do something. This is about a year of we coming back around to like a year of membership. Yeah. Thank you, TP. One network down. CBS. What happened to CBS News? Well, hold up. You got me looking this up. Oh, CBS taps conservative policy veteran for new ombudsman role. Yeah, agreed. Absolutely. You are absolutely correct. 2 a day is perfect. It's not too much or too little. Some channels put out so much, it's hard to keep up. Well, the thing is, Giggles, because the videos are relatively long. Like if I was going to put out if I was going to put out 10-minute videos, I could do like 4 or 5 a day. But it's the length that makes it difficult. And also the production that I'm currently utilizing. To the rest of the world, I think being American is synonymous with hypocrites. I'm sure. I don't doubt it for a second, Ray. Not for a second. Hey, Jonathan, I appreciate that. Said appreciate the hard work you and your team produce. Great work. Thank you, Jonathan. Thank you. That is very much appreciated. Shout out to you. Thanks to all you guys. I appreciate all of your work and support up to this point. And without further ado, I'm going to bring in my man, Foreign. 3:15, just because, I didn't want you to have to be, I wanted to give you a minute. You know what I mean? I didn't want to be like.
My reputation precedes myself. They said that Foreign could talk.
We getting everything. First of all, man, thank you so much for coming back to the show. I definitely wanted to have you on for quite some time. Actually, and by the way, if you guys haven't checked out the video that we posted together, I actually was in one of your more recent videos.
Gay conservatives.
Make sure you check that out. You posted a video I think it might have been the last one you posted on Foreign Fridays. It really struck my attention about DDG.
Oh man, I was wondering because you didn't even tell me what we was gonna talk about. So I was wondering. I was just like,
I want to get into. So the reason why I definitely wanted to bring you back is we didn't get into any of the diaspora wars last time, and I wanted to have a dedicated time to talk about that. But you brought up DDG, and this is not somebody who I'm like that up on, really. Yeah. Like I'm not like a real I'm old. You know what I mean? I'm like a good decade.
Reese, where you at?
The demo.
Reese, where you at? You 35?
No, I'm 40. I'm 40.
You 40?
Yeah.
Man, you doing real good. You doing I mean, like, I know what I'm supposed to look like at 40, right? But you know what I think it is also? I think it's the haircut and the fact that you ain't got no beard. Because I hide the fact that I have no chin under this beard. So that's what gives me if I took this off, I would look about 10 years old. So, and niggas wouldn't take me seriously. So I think the fact that you got that going on and then you got the goatee, you in set with me. Honestly,
the facial hair really changed the paradigm when it came to dudes and faces. The facial hair really,
it's all makeup.
In the era of beards, as somebody that couldn't grow one, you know what I mean? It's like steroids, man. It really,
it's like our makeup.
Yeah, like dudes in the steroids era. All of a sudden they came up. So I'm out of the demo for DDG, but I happened to watch some videos. YouTube served me some videos this weekend about this whole dating show that he did. and with India Love, who was another person that I didn't, and I'm totally dating myself. I don't know these people, but I actually think I'm a good candidate to speak on it because I'm coming to it fresh, right? I'm not bringing in a lot of feelings about these people, except DDG has rubbed me wrong in the past because of how he's moved. But irregardless of that, I'm not going to be and by the way, shout out to all the members that they came through. Shout out to y'all.
I can't even see that.
Yeah, shout out to all everybody that's watching right now. May, Killa, Sonia. Thank you so much, Sonia.
Okay,
appreciate that.
Yeah.
Shout out to all y'all. We're doing a pre-tape for tonight's live, so I just thought you guys might be interested. So if you guys have questions, definitely throw them in, and we will address them. So one thing that I happen to notice is in watching DDG and how he interacts with his streams and followers and stuff like that, is that it seems that the pushback that he receives and responds very badly to is just basic accountability for the things that he promises his audience, or him misrepresenting things and then getting mad when people call him on. And I'm watching all of that, and I'll call it what it is. Like the height of toxicity. Like the height of toxicity, the way that he gaslights his own audience. Yeah. And I'm watching all of that as not only a content creator, but also as a Black man who comes from a community that I think highly populates his fan base. Surely he has crossover fans, but I think he has a lot of fans that look like me. And I'm like, is this what's being impressed upon them? Like, is this, and not only is this what's being impressed upon them, but why is there no recourse seemingly? Not saying the man needs to be canceled, but you can leave. I'm like, if I'm a fan of somebody and this is how they treat me, I would find something else to do. Like, I would find somebody else to rock with, and they don't. Which to me, like, reinforces that as the way to be in the world, which I find, like, deeply problematic. I'm like, not only is this the dude that we're going to be a fan of, we're going to continue to be a fan of him regardless of how he behaves and not hold him accountable for anything. I'm like, what the hell is this?
When, like, you hit the nail on so many heads. So it's a part of it is also like an audience capture. Like the phrase meaning that it's like getting famous for Crank That for Soulja Boy, you know, like maybe Soulja Boy had a bunch of other songs, maybe he had a rock album in there, but the fact that he got popular for Crank That is now begetting more Crank Dats. You get me? So like it begets itself. It insists upon itself. So DDG is beginning to frame himself, to use a wrestling term, as a heel to an extent, but also he sees more so that there is a level of engagement in rage baiting, as well as being what people online, terminally online, people call a lol cow. Now, a lol cow, I don't know if you don't know DDG, then you don't know Low Tier God then. But Low Tier God is the essential Black lol cow, insofar as they play a character to an extent that is so loathsome, so over the top, so easy for parody that is the entertainment value. So I think like a lot of the people, like when you say that, like, why are people, you know, prodding DDG and not just leaving, abandoning the content, because that's what you do if there's content that you don't like. I think that DDG, given that he's been on the internet for a long time, I'm gonna give him his credit. He's been on the internet during 2016, 2015, with vlogs, and in that milieu of creators, being one of the only Black creators on the platform at the time, to his level of visibility, that got to be a difficult thing to do. But at this point, and one of the points that I made inside the video is that his content hasn't necessarily matured. It stayed the same thing, basically making content out of the women that he's adjacent to by humiliating them, stepping over their boundaries, at some points even whoring them out, in the case of Ruby Rose. There's a bunch of different things. And now I think that it's all coming ahead, and he's playing into this persona that he's crafted as this extremely wealthy, extremely attractive, and very gravitational force in the black media. So as I showed in the video, he constantly makes reference to his riches. He's constantly telling people that I'm rich as hell, I'm lit as hell, I'm more attractive than a lot of y'all will ever be. Like, let me go life for life with you, let me go bond for bond with you. He's talking to his fans. So
right.
he's basically prodding his fans in a way that you would think that wouldn't necessarily be a good career move. That's not necessarily a good business tactic. Why would you attack and call the people that paying you broke? It don't make sense. Mm-hmm. But he understands that, or he subscribes to the idea that all engagement is good engagement, even if it's negative engagement. At least you watching, and that means that you can get odds. So even if you see me acting like a mad minstrel, screaming with a shirt all the way out here, showing your clavicle, and running around in the room, mad, shaking my fist, angry at you, prostrating masculinity in a very insecure way, in fashion, as a almost 30-year-old, I think he's about to be 28. I think that his audience is more so in an antagonistic, almost abusive relationship with one another. Like, they getting this very egotistical prodding from this man, and they are in turn giving that back to him, saying, oh, DDG, you didn't do good with this love show, India love ruin your love show, X, Y, and Z. And it's just a very abusive, as you said, toxic relationship that I feel bad for, especially given that it's a black man, and I feel like it's probably a bunch of younger black boys, or maybe even some white boys up inside there watching him and poking him with a stick while he's in a cage.
Now, so shout out to Nicole for this comment, because this is where I go with it.
KKK ankles? I don't even know what that is.
Oh, cankles. That's Trump.
Oh, okay.
Cankles.
You see, you got inside jokes.
Yeah, that's cankles with the 3 Ks. I just know it from it's the political lolcow. It's the political lolcow. But that's exactly where my thought process goes, right? Because it's not so much that, like, the actions of, as I previously mentioned, being 4 decades deep, that the actions of a man in his late 20s is like bother me to this degree. It's that I'm old enough to remember when these things were disqualifying. And they remind me of what we see in the political space, right? Where there's this whole ethos of, working class Americans, good old Americans, working class Americans, and trying to have some degree of class solidarity, which was of course shattered in November when they decided they didn't want to vote for the brown lady. But outside of that, prior to, during, and after that, you see this exaltation of wealth and ostentatiousness, and this worship of these reserved spaces that you are being actively prevented from accessing, which directly works against all of these virtues that you claim to subscribe to for your own upward mobility. Like, you're kneecapping all of this with how you choose to spend your time and where you choose to show your love. And it bothers me, I think, more so here because of who we're talking about. Because we're talking about young black men and young black women that are subscribing to this. Like, it's no different than what I decry that's happening in Arkansas, right? Where the farmers are upset because they're not being done right, but you chose to vote against your own best interest because you wanted to be a part of the MAGA Camelot.
And that's the point. They're temporarily embarrassed millionaires almost in the case of people like Trump that are sycophants, but at the same time victims of Trumpisms. The people that are at most vulnerable to what Trump is viewing out are also the people that end up supporting them. That Venn diagram and the people in the middle of that, people who are victims of Trump and people who are supporters of Trump, and that meeting in the middle, those people, you try to figure out why. Why be a chicken for KFC? Why are you trying to advocate, and in the case of DDG, pay for your own ruin? And a lot of them don't necessarily see it as that. They think that they will be a DDG, or they think that they will be a Trump in the political spectrum, because nobody likes to view themselves as victims. Nobody likes to reconcile with the fact that, wait a minute, I have projected a potential reality onto this person. However, that is not actually reality. This is what I am right now in this corporeal form is actually a victim of not necessarily maybe DDG in this case, but what DDG stands for, what he's emblematic of, which is this masculinity that confines you to have to perform a particular type of braggadocio. You would see DDG like ranting about like, I'll slap you in real life, I'll do this and right. I'll do that. And that's, and sad thing yet again, and to empathize with DDG, he is a victim of his own demise as well, a prison of his own design, because he's in a very public custody battle with Halle Bailey. And the truest victim of that is the child, but he can't necessarily see his son. Why can't he see his son? Is because he is being litigated against on the bounds of abuse. The claim is that he's abusive. The claim is that he is violent. The claim is that he has crafted an environment that is unsafe and unfitting for a child. And that is exactly what you see. Documented proof of that. This man is shaking up around himself, dancing with socks of money to his head, and talking about he can slap strangers online. Mm-hmm. He is playing a character. I would hope he's playing a character at best. At worst, that's actually him. And he's gyrating shiftlessly around his room for a bunch of, who knows? I mean, could be black boys, could be white boys, could be both, could be a couple of women inside there. And he's literally tap dancing, but it has also the ramifications of the fact that it is being filmed, and it could very well be used against you and will be used against you in a court of law. So it's double bind bad, he's a victim of himself. His audience is also his captives, his prisoners, because they are also getting this toxicity. And no matter what it is, no matter if you say, oh, I just watch him for entertainment, you are what you consume. So like if you watch enough brain rotted DDG shaking up himself inside a room talking about he can slap you in real life, you're going to start, it can edge out. Like maybe it might just end up being a Shazam. Like you might just say that in normal folklore. That's one of his catchphrases. And then you realize yourself, oh shit.
Shazam, like the Shaq movie?
Yeah.
Really?
Dog has kind of coined that, or, he also kind of popularized this phrase saying, are you my ball? Which he's referring to women as his ball, to talk about like 2K lingo. So he's like, you are in possession of a man as a ball is in possession of a player. So like all of this misogyny, all of this misogynoir, that kind of seeps into you, even if you, like me, are trying to consume it for research. I feel like Huey on Boondocks when he was watching too much BET. Like after a while, you begin to say, God damn, I need to read some goddamn W.E. Du Bois. Because I need something. I need something to counteract that. And all of them are victims and perpetrators at the same time.
I was wondering what All You My Ball was about. My initial thought was like literally like a ball.
Ball and chain?
Yeah, no, like a ball, like a testicle. That was my initial thought, was like that's where my brain first went with it, but I was like,
a double entendre.
Call it after that.
And you've watched Flavor of Flav and all the rest of them. You got reference points for that.
Flavor of Love. Yeah.
And that's like kind of also what I was contending is just the mechanisms that had to happen in order for a Flavor Flav to work or potentially work. I make the comment inside the video that I don't want to nostalgia wash Flavor Flav and what happened on those shows. If we watched it today, we probably would have different takes because we have a different standard. But even today, I think that Flavor of Love would ring very differently than DDG rings, because DDG would ring rankily in comparison. Because Flavor Flav is an entertaining guy. Very, very entertaining guy. Reese that takes my ball to a whole new level.
Yeah. I'm actually thoroughly impressed at how plugged in the members are to all of this, because I didn't know that they would really follow it, but they did. Now, okay. Now I want to get to why I did want to bring you here, because if we get too far afield, then it's gonna be 55 minutes in, and I'll be like, hey, we gotta have you back to talk about the
Man, look, I'm always down to come back.
Award.
But you won't come to the Diaspora Awards. That's a heavy topic. But let's go.
It is, and I got into it quite a bit with Cam James, who I know you did a video with Cam, talking about FBA and that investigation that he did. So Cam came on a couple weeks ago, and we chopped it up about that. Did a fantastic job. Make sure you guys follow him. I wanted to hear from somebody that's in the diaspora, right? And but somebody that obviously you speak often to Black Americans about what you see in this rise of FBA and ADOS and this semi-organized, and I say semi-organized because we can't overstate how large these groups actually are, but they are organized, right? Semi-organized pushback to the creation and preservation of an African diaspora movement or the African diaspora identity, because I came up in the 80s and the 90s, more so 90s and 80s, when it came to in my mind them popularizing an Afrocentric identity. Mm-hmm. We started going to kente cloth. Hey, I'm from DC and Georgetown. Remember Georgetown would play with the kente on the edges of the jersey. I actually have one of those.
Damn.
Oh yeah, Georgetown. I thought Georgetown was an HBCU.
I didn't know about that.
Yeah, I thought Georgetown was an HBCU when I was growing up, until I finally went on Georgetown's campus and was like, oh, literally all the Black people were on the basketball team. Okay, that is the bar to admission to Georgetown. So I feel like in the 90s, Malcolm X, the Malcolm X movie, there was like a lot, there was I feel like some things were done in popular culture in order to try and popularize and grow this idea of an kind of a connection to Africa for me as a Black American. And I can say as a youth, it gave me a level of pride. As a youth that was in white spaces, as I was, right? Like I was in the suburbs at that point and then going to prep school. So it was a really good thing for me. It was a really positive thing for me. And then I go to New York. I spent most of my, I spent my entire 20s and most of my 30s in New York. Damn. And so being around a lot of Haitians and being around a lot of dark-skinned Dominicans and being around, people from the Bahamas. I mean, New York, you got
it all.
Bro, it actually made me feel, it actually left me wanting in a different way, because I didn't have a flag and a different country that I could big up in order to kind of connect myself to other people that look like me. I was just Black. I invented the term Southern Black.
Yeah.
I invented the term Southern Black when I was in college, where we didn't have a story. We're Southern Blacks. Like where's the South Carolina Black flag? We got a South Carolina Black flag. So I kind of approach this from this space of always appreciating this idea of having a connection to darker skinned people all over the world. I listen to a lot of Bob Marley, things like that.
You got the poster.
Yeah, I'm like a big Bob guy. So like that is how I approach this. Now, I also approach this from a place where One of the lines that I have said when I have addressed various groups, mostly it's been Latinos, like the Latino MAGAs. I don't tolerate racism very well from anybody, but there is a very special level reserved for racism that comes from non-white people. Like there's another,
yeah.
I go to a different level. Like I don't think white people can access the level of anger you get from me when there's anti-blackness that comes from non-white people. I just don't tolerate that well at all. So those two things kind of coalesce when it comes to darker skinned immigrants and their feelings about Black Americans. That's where it really gets like really, that's where my brain really has to wrestle with a lot of things.
Yeah.
When it comes to that. So in the same vein that it would be silly to think that these things are confined to specific groups that can be this. Oh, they got somebody.
that's a paid actor.
Yeah.
In your streams.
It's a lot more of that these days in DC.
I wonder why.
It's a little rough. So, and I want to pass the mic to you because I'm here because I want to hear from you. But like, obviously, these ideas of people that come to this country, or people that this country was people outside of the central group this group was created for, right, to serve. Obviously, people like that having negative opinions of Black Americans wouldn't be like, obviously that would infest darker skinned immigrants as well. And why wouldn't it, given the rhetoric that's been put out? But I haven't had it. I haven't encountered it in such a way and in such volume that it affected my feelings about the immigrants as a group. You know what I mean? I'm like, it's kind of like Black MAGAs. Like, Black MAGAs are crazy, but it doesn't change how I feel about Black people. You know what I mean? So I'm like, I'm curious as to the reasons why you feel like this pushback has been organized in the way that it has, and what really the end game is going to be for the Black diaspora. Like where exactly is this going? That's really what I'm curious about.
No, that's that. And I want to lead with empathy with it, because the more that this topic is percolated online, there's also some misconceptions in general about even the defense that Black immigrants have of Black Americans when in regards with FBA, ADOS, Tariq Nasheedisms, Yvette Carrollisms, insofar as that you will always get me. And I have both passports. I've lived in the States. I've lived to a degree as a Black American, insofar as that when I lived in Iowa and did my tertiary education in Iowa, and I was in Iowa for 9 years, you ask any of the police officers that saw me if they knew that I was Bahamian, or did they know they just saw a Black. And then when I was hanging out with my brethren from Chicago and hanging out with my brethren from, the rest of Illinois, did they see, oh no, that is definitely a Bahamian and we need to treat him differently based on his Bahamianness. I lived as one, but I still would not call myself one because of the early maturation that I had in being in the Bahamas, being born in the States, but then coming back to the Bahamas and living in a Black nation, fully consciousness for the most part of a Black nation where, I keep going back to this, you're gifted the ability to dream. You're gifted the ability to imagine oneself without ceiling. And I think in the States, you very early on have to have a lot of lessons if you have, good parents to basically teach you to play a particular role. You could fall into the Black excellent role. You could fall into the, radical role, or you could just fall into just the reactive. Let me just find a way to survive. So you will have the Black father. I was talking to FD about this. He remembers very early on, as soon as his child was born, having to begin to think about how he's going to teach them that they need to be careful when going outside and playing with the rest of their friends. The child was just born. And I have my son, and, I'm now bringing him to the Bahamas, and I brought him to the Bahamas. We had him in the States, but we brought him to the Bahamas. And I just had a sigh of relief, knowing that I don't have to necessarily have that conversation. I have to have some conversations. And this kind of gets into some of the trouble that I have with some of the discussions as it pertains to the type of slavery or the type of Black experience that Black Americans had versus what the rest of the Black diaspora has. Because there's been this misconception that because we don't live in the States, we don't necessarily have an equitable experience to what it is to grow up in the States. White supremacy is prevailing, and in very many different ways. I think that, and it's unfortunate, and oftentimes you got to rip the Band-Aid off with this. Some Black Americans want to be American. They don't necessarily want to be Black, or they don't necessarily care much about being Black as they do about being American. And to be American, I think, I was reading Black as Fuck history, Black AF history. And the unique thing about America is just it is built upon subjugation, and that bleeds into the civilization and the citizens themselves, to the point where the Black American can begin to wield their Americanness and talk as an American, not necessarily as a Black person, to the rest of the Black diaspora. And that's when you get into these conversations of the same way when I was reading Black AF history and it being told a retelling of, Jonestown or just the founding and whatnot. And them trying to reclaim what happened, because a lot of history is told by the winners, and therefore it has a white version of it, and Black AF history is supposed to be a Black version of it. And I read it and I'm just like, they can sometimes fall victim to the same thing that they're fighting against. They're trying to rewrite, or not rewrite history, but tell history from the perspective of a Black American. But then sometimes they forget that they're still telling history from the perspective of an American. So the calumny then falls on the rest of the Black diaspora. And so far, that's just like, you're fighting that vertical fight against white supremacy, but you're stepping on the rest. You're stepping the way that you're fighting, the shoulders that you're on in order to get to that fight is still the rest of the Black diaspora. And I don't necessarily fault the Black American for that. I think that there's an invested interest in making sure that we don't know about our shared history. The Bahamas and Bahamians in general, actually, a lot of them come from South Carolina, the Gullah Geechee. There's that shared connection that we have. And we actually sound the same in a lot of different ways. Like I get comments sometimes talking about, you sound just like my kid in South Carolina. I said, yeah, that's because I probably am to an extent. And I like to dwell on that. And I like to get refuge in that. And I like to do the kumbayas with that. But it's almost, and it's sad, and it's a very difficult conversation to have, but you get a little comfortable. And then a little bit of that xenophobia after you in company, like the Black immigrant or the Black African or the Black Caribbean person is in company with Black Americans. And then you get the American come out. The American part comes out. When you get a little comfortable you know, I talk about like since I'm in the Bahamas, we have like a lot of Black American tourists. And this is like a really common thing that like a lot of people in tourist-based economies have to deal with, is that you get like a little bit of entitlement that comes when they come to the Bahamas. Mm-hmm. Sometimes, one time I had a Black American tourist, and this is not for all of them, but one time I had a Black American tourist come, and I was trying to show him around, and there was this expectation that I could like, you know, show him where the weed at. I was just like, no, weed is not legal here. And they were just like, no, I know you know how to find that though. And I know it's innocent. It's just like there's this myth that you're supposed to be able to find weed here, like, you know, because they think to an extent maybe that it might be like Jamaica.
Yeah, like, no. Did he think he was in Jamaica?
I don't know if he knew that. I don't know if he knew, but like yet again, it's just like this myopic view of it. So like, there's not necessarily like, I wouldn't go to New York. I wouldn't even go to Buffalo expecting Bronx. I wouldn't go to Buffalo in New York expecting, you know, Staten. I understand that. But the American will go to the Caribbean and think that is the entirety is just Jamaica. Even worse, sometimes it gets more pernicious. I had an American tourist, it was a Black American tourist, and he said, I'm looking to have some fun. And he's just like, how much one of these little girls around there cost? And I was just like, what you mean cost, bro? Like, he's just like, what do you mean cost? He's just like, man, look, I know like I'll be able to buy about a couple of them for, you know, a very small amount. Like they say a couple of shillings, basically. It's just like, y'all use shillings over here, right? It's I bet I could buy them for a couple pounds, a couple pence. I'm just like, you know, British currency.
Yeah.
I'm just like, I have to turn off a level of this, the involuntary reaction that I would have, because I know it's not necessarily a place of malice all the time. I know it might just very well be that you've never experienced this dynamic before. And the things of which Americans believe of the rest of the world, Americans, not just Black Americans, but America in general, believes that they could go into different places of the world, colonize, pillage, do all of these other things. That trickles down. So even the Black American that is not malicious in trying to, you know, kumbaya, kente cloth, you know, hold the rest of the diaspora together, there will be those slights of, you know, xenophobia that'll drop out, and it makes it hard sometimes. I also see that on the reverse. So you have Black immigrants that come to the States, and I've done this too to an extent, where we would come, and because we're not necessarily encumbered by the same weight of racism that you get in the States, not necessarily saying that we haven't encountered racism or that we haven't endured slavery or that we haven't had the remnants of racism and white supremacy echo throughout our institutions, because we have some of the most rampant iterations of racism and colonialism, Hispaniola and the rest of the Caribbean. Trust, like it gets terrible. So I don't want to mollify that. However, it is different when you get to the States. And when you get to the States, there's a Black American dream, Black immigrant dream that if you could get to the States, you could make it, because there's this idea that the American dream is there. We haven't gotten the updates yet. The Black Americans on the ground probably have. They know as much that, oh no, that dream that you're talking about, that's literally a figment. But the Black Caribbean person or the Black African will come into that space and be around Black Americans, and they will look at them as though, why haven't you taken advantage of this? And I noticed very early on, especially after Trump took office, is that there's a dread, an existential dread that just creeps after a long time being in that space. And what ends up happening is you get so defeated and you feel so futile in your efforts to do what the Black immigrant might very well think you can do. Mm-hmm. And until I got to like that, I want to say 8-year mark when I was in the States, and a wave of depression washed over me. I think it was a little bit into the Trump presidency, where I just needed to resign from white people in mass. Like I felt a craving, and that's why honestly I came back home. I could not look at white people after Trump, especially in Iowa, after Trump was in office for a little bit, because there was a level of arrogance and a deservedness and an entitlement that I don't know if I could have dealt with for far too long. So I had to get out of there. And then I thought to myself, I said, damn, I got that after 8 years. These niggas been here since they was born. They been dealing with that shit since they was born. If I could feel that defeated after 8 years of this shit, I can only imagine what my friend from Chicago was feeling, what my friend from Atlanta was feeling. I could only imagine at a particular point, being looked at every time when I walk into a grocery store. You got a white old lady looking at you like you's a damn monster. And even if they look at you fondly, you still being fetishized. Even if they look at you like they'd think that they're doing you a favor, they'd say, "Oh, you play for the football team, right?" I think I saw you on the field. On the field? On the field, and they looking at you very smiling, smelling like sunscreen and cheese, and they looking at you like they just gave you a compliment.
Well, I'm walking around like Rudy, 5 foot nothing, 100 and nothing, and they're like, hey, "What position you play?" It kind of like what you're describing actually kind of reminds me, because I use a lot of sports analogies, but it kind of reminds me of when you watch the NCAA tournament. Or a basketball team, a young basketball team make a run, and they always say they're too young to know any better. They're too young to know any better, so they don't feel the pressure and the weight of what they are accomplishing because they're just playing basketball. They're not actually taking all of these things into consideration about the history that's being made. Whereas a veteran team comes with all this baggage of all the failures of years past, and they know how hard it is to go up the mountain. And so they're playing with all of that in their heads. So I'm hearing you, and it's kind of describes like an immigrant. I get that idea of coming to America and thinking of what might be possible when you come to America, and then being like, oh, well, you're here. So obviously you have the ability to accomplish all of these things just from the jump. And then going through that learning curve of having to figure it out. I think for me, and I have to be careful because one thing that I've tried to stop doing is to hold people accountable for the information that I have. That is something that I feel like a lot of people do, and that's something that I feel like I can do, where I feel like everybody should have the information that I have, and that's not the case. We brought up Latinos for Trump. That's a primary example because it all seems obvious to me, but I don't know what those people were told by who. But here's the thing: I would hope that the understanding of who is shaping the narratives that you are receiving would occur to you. Right? Like I would think that it would occur to you that the kinds of images that you might see might be specifically crafted for a particular reason. Like me as somebody that lives here, I see how the media works and how they craft narratives about my people and people who look like me. Believe me, I've been seeing it a ton over the last 24 hours when it comes to Charlotte. Okay, that's all they had on Fox News all day yesterday. So we don't know no Epstein, no trade deals, no soccer, all day, right? So I understand how they like to craft these particular narratives. I would just hope that would be taken into consideration when you're processing the images that you're seeing about Black Americans, when you actually deal with Black Americans.
So obligatory, this media, this information, extremely pernicious, extremely insidious. And you will have different varying degrees. Your mileage may vary, where you will have certain people that are a lot more understanding of the systems and the institutional racism that has essentially kept Black America in a particular class. At the same time, as you have a lot of niggas in the States, and I have a lot of niggas over here that do not subscribe to my worldview or to the things that I know, as you were saying. You have them in both places. So I have encountered a lot of people, just like actually going back to DDG, I've encountered a lot of people, even here, that regurgitate white supremacist talking points that essentially disenfranchise themselves. And I've also experienced the same thing in the States. I know Black men that I went to school with that only consorted with white women because they literally would say that that is how you move up. I've encountered people from Chicago, from Atlanta, everywhere throughout the Midwest in my education that would regurgitate those same points. And it's not necessarily because, back to the boys, there's a penchant to be a bit paternal in our thinking that we know the best way forward for Black people. And I've had to turn this down myself because I could get a little preachy and sanctimonious as well. But I also recognize that this conversation that we even having right here is a product of our environment that is specific and cultivated and privileged to particular information, and not necessarily that other Black folks couldn't get access to that information, but they're not supposed to. It's almost like a food desert. You know, like if you live in a community of which that corner store or, you know, the Chinese store right around the corner where you're supposed to be getting a couple of these products from because you ain't got no Walmart or you ain't got no Kruger's or whatever anywhere around your neighborhood. And if they take that out, then what you supposed to do? You could starve. So a lot of people are starving. They are information deserts in their surroundings, and the only thing that they could get for the most part is basically a lot of church ideology. So like a lot of this is actually permeating throughout the church. So a lot of anti-Blackness, actually. I mean, slavery is literally in the Bible. A lot of anti-Blackness that hates you and us. A lot of Caribbean churches I go to hate themselves as well as everyone else.
Wow.
And all of that is by design. Wow. All of that is to sow that dissension. So even though, to answer your question in a prolix way, even though when we come to the States and we see people that literally look like us, people that we are supposed to, because that's what I ended up doing. I married a Black American woman, and I moved her to the Bahamas, and she too has had to grapple with the same thing that I had to grapple with when I was over there. Is that this kind of, oh well, you ain't got like you don't do things like this over here. Like she would come over here trying to figure out why is it that when she goes to this restaurant for a particular dish that they ain't got the dish, even though they advertising the dish online. And you don't understand that when you go to Aunt Martha's, you eat what Aunt Martha has. When you go to one of the only restaurants in that community, it don't matter what you see online. If Aunt Martha closed at 11 o'clock in the morning, she closed. That's it. And you know, like you don't expect the same. You don't expect the same thing when in Rome type of thing. The same thing when I went to the States and I went to Black restaurants and I expected there to be all of this season and everything like that. When I had catfish for the first time, I say, where the hell the salt? I say, where the salt? You know, I had collard greens. I say, what happened? You know, I'm expecting what I had before. And I have to also take into account, it's just like, actually, I need to appreciate what I have here because it is a totally different culture. It's a remnant, it's a pigeon, it is amalgamation of a bunch of different things, but it is its own thing. And I need to take that on its own weight. It's a multifaceted thing. But ultimately, what I want to leave it on is, it is by design. And the best way to see that is, who does it serve? The best way to ever figure out where is this going is what you like started with. Who does it serve? Does it serve the Black American? Well, even if like FBA, ADOS, Tariq Nasheed, all of them, even if they were to get the things that they were asking for, which we don't necessarily know. But if they did, does that serve the Black American? Does preventing particular Black immigrants' enfranchisement in the States mean that the Black American will get more enfranchisement?
Yeah,
that's an open-ended one.
I don't think it is, because I think that is pretty cut and dry as far as I think who does it serve is a great rubric to take towards a great number of things when it comes to the fracture that you see amongst disenfranchisement. Amongst disenfranchisement, you look at the fracture, and just on a fundamental level, I don't know how you come out of the rebuke that we saw of Blackness in November and say, you know what, we got too much support over here. It's really too crowded over here. Why don't we go ahead and segment further? Like, I don't understand how that would be the move coming out of that. All right, we got a couple minutes left before this premiere, but I did want to ask, because I'm very curious. When you talk about churches in the Bahamas, do they ever use Black Jesus, or is that specifically a Black American thing?
Nope. I wish they damn did. Honestly, yet again, going back to Black as Work history, our churches are very white. I know I could get a lot of flack for that. There's going to be some people, but we sing hymns. I go to an Anglican church. We don't have spirit. When my wife came to the church, she was just like, there ain't no feeling in this. Because like literally the things that we sing in, we would be in there like, up from the grave he arose.
Oh,
he arose. We don't sing, these chains, I feel them break. We don't sing that shit. We don't get that.
Wow.
So we don't have the big band. A lot of the stuff that came out of the Black church in the States, very unique to that. We are very much singing hymns. And that's a whole nother conversation to begin with.
Nobody told me that the road would be easy.
I can't sing with you, brother. I wish I could.
He brought me this far to lead me. Now you don't have none of that.
We have Lamb of God, you take away the sins of the world. That's what we got.
Wow.
Now that might be an Anglican thing. It might be like in some Baptist churches, you might get a little bit different, but we got a lot more white churches. White, when I talk about the way that it basically operates, is a lot more white churches than you get in the States, which I unfortunately have to reckon with it a lot. We have white Jesus, unfortunately.
That is fascinating. That is fascinating. Okay, well, maybe we'll have to circle back around.
We got to circle a Black church.
It's a good thing. Whenever we have a conversation about, we need to talk about that. What do you have coming up? What do you want to push that people?
Oh man! So I like to push that video that we just did. The gay conservatives, the rise of homo nationalism. You held your own. More the conversation that we just had pertaining to the diaspora wars. I think that we do a great tag team on that, and it is a lot more manicured and edited and beautiful, because like it connects a lot of different things. So even my white folks inside the audience, I know you're there. You would also gain a lot, and this ain't just a blockety block conversation. It extends across the whole thing. So on the Foreign Man and the Foreign Land channel, the rise of homo nationalism is the last video I did. And for the rest of September on Foreign Fridays, we will be detailing streaming. So we'll be doing streaming September. I just did DDG. I could be talking about Kai Sanat, who has also unfortunately said some things about Black Americans. I'll touch on that a little bit. I'll probably do that on Friday. I'll talk about I Show Speed, who is a modern day minstrel. I'll just get into the whole streaming community. But
okay,
all of that, there, Foreign Fridays, a Foreign Man and the Foreign Land, Big Body Foreign on Instagram. I try to get back to my Instagram. I try to learn from you. You got the real thing down. You got to teach me how to do that. You see, you 40 something and you know more than me when it comes to that.
I'm trying. Hey man, I appreciate you. I'm gonna run over to the premiere. By the way, all you guys still in the chat, I'll see you guys over at the premiere. Much appreciated. And salute to you, my friend. Salute.
Pick up yourself.
Thank you. Okay, why is it doing this? Why is it doing this? I don't know why it's doing this. There we go. There we go. There we go. Jesus on the main line. Tell me what you want. Tell him what you want. Jesus on the main line. Tell him what you want. Jesus on the main line. Tell him what you want. Thank you, Treva. I appreciate that. And shout out to Xavier too. I saw Xavier said that this was eye-opening. I'm not gonna hold you because it's already 9:30. I'm not gonna hold you. But what I will say is thank you, Habib. I appreciate you. What I will say is the idea, couple walkaways. The idea of how conservative and Eurocentric some of these churches are that people bring with them when they come over here really speaks to the mentality of a lot of folks. And the fact that he talked about information deserts, where here in the United States, as Black Americans, we have utilized everything at our disposal to raise awareness and to build a level of resistance to white supremacy that everybody hasn't had access to. And we've also, to the idea of immigrants making coming to America almost an end to itself. If you come from an environment where just being in America and having access to the tools that America provides is an end in itself, then naturally you would have a perception of the people that are born into that and what they should or shouldn't have done with the tools that you see at their disposal, right? With a lack of awareness of the conditions for those people. Now, that's also not to say that they hadn't been extremely successful. Black Americans have been extremely successful. And one of the things that I talk about all the time is how the successes are never utilized to represent the group. It's always the teenagers that are shoplifting from Burlington. It's never, it's never Black businessmen and Black businesswomen. It's never Black politicians. That's never used to represent the group. So we have been actually very successful. These aren't people that get attached to the Black American experience in America. It's always the worst of us. But what he talked about coming to America and the longer he's here, a level of depression settling in, and then that opening his eyes to what people that have been here the entire time deal with is so fascinating. And I use the sports analogy because we've seen that young team. Last year was the Commanders, right? The Commanders are playing, they're too young to know, right? They're too young to feel the pressure. They're too young to know that they're not supposed to be doing this right now. Like that youthful innocence that protects you from the realization of the forces that are at play. And we don't have that innocence. We can't have that innocence. We are fully aware of the headwinds that we face as we go about life in our society. And we have developed a great number of tools and habits and traditions in order to stave off that depression that he speaks of. This is just our normal. You know, that's just normal. That's just Black in America, right? Wow. So much. I mean, there was so much to unpack there. It won't be the last time we have that conversation, and it won't be the last time that I talk to Foreign. Shout out to him. Make sure you follow him on Foreign Man in a Foreign Land, as well as Foreign Fridays, Big Body Foreign on Instagram. Make sure you check him out there. Shout out to all you guys that have been a part of the live. I've thoroughly enjoyed this live. Tomorrow should be a BOGO day. I say should be a BOGO day. We'll see just how hard I'm willing to go in the paint. But it should be a BOGO day. So be on the lookout for that. Make sure you guys turn on your notifications. And welcome to Catherine and to Victoria. Thanks to Karen, Aracelis, TP, Nicole, Giggles. 2 a day is perfect. Yep. Ray, thank you for that. Jonathan, definitely sponsoring the whole live. Jonathan, I appreciate that. Deshauna, 11 months. That's how I know that I haven't had membership for a full year. But we definitely going to have something for the year, for sure. Thank you, Deshauna, and thank you so much for being a mod. And thank you for holding us down this afternoon, too, as well. Zach, I see you, Reese. Thank you very much. Great job. Thank you very much, Zach. I appreciate you. Dally Oops, great seeing 2 great role models share that great conversation. Hey, Dally Oops, thank you so much. I very much appreciate you being here. I see you guys tomorrow for the premiere. Shout out to all the mods. Thank you, Roberta and Deshauna and Miss Ray, lovely Nola. I think Chernobyl is here. Shout out to all you guys. Much appreciated. Take care of yourselves and each other. And Treva, another 11-month celebrant. Thank you, Treva. As we always say in these parts around this time, wash your feet.